This will be Robotic Trading Quick Lesson entitled Justified Patience. What we're going to do is go over an effective strategy that you can use by leveraging charts in order to pull profits out of the market, and more importantly, make sure you're not wasting your time and money. And along with that, it will help you be cold and calculated, remove emotions from the equation, and truly trade like a robot. So let's get started. First, though, a warning: if you don't understand charts or have never even heard of charting to apply towards the stock market, then don't go watch this video and then open up your trading account and start putting your hard-earned money on the line. There is a level of detail that won't be covered in this video that you do need to understand how to use and deploy in order to make this an effective strategy. So again, at most, if you're not familiar with charts, just go and paper trade, but you do need to have more of an understanding than what we'll be going over in this video. So just want to throw that out there. So the main question for the stock market, options, forex, whatever, for this video we'll be just using stocks. But if you buy a stock, why do people hold? If you're going to make a purchase and you decide, you know what, I'm going to hold on to this, why is that? And I think a lot of people, as silly as the question sounds, forget about that, and then you see them sit back and waste time, lose money, and it's just a disaster. And although it's such just a basic concept, a lot of people do overlook it, and even when I got started, I overlooked the concept. So again, let's think, why do people hold? The question is pretty evident. People hold because they think the price will be going up. Now, whether or not that comes from maybe what the balance sheet tells them, they like to dig into the filings and so forth. Maybe that's what the investor relations person told them when they called the department, and the person on the other end of the line was just giving them all sorts of warm and fuzzy stuff about the company. Maybe it's what your stock tip buddy tells you from work, or your neighbor, or maybe you just met up with somebody in the doctor's office waiting for your appointment, and they tell you about something. But the point being, everybody thinks they're going to be rich. That's why people are holding. They think that some event, basically anything, something in the future is going to cause the stock to go up. That's why people decide to hold. But at the end of the day, price action is king. If you know anything about charts and technical analysis, basically principle number one is price action rules above anything else. Because I don't care what your stock tip buddy tells you, I don't care what the investor relations person tells you, the CEO, or what the filings are saying. If the price isn't going up, then nothing else really matters. They could be telling you everything you want to hear and be telling you this, that, and the other, which sounds fantastic, but if the price is not going up, then you're never going to make any money. So the true question and the true concept is, who cares what people are saying? What is the price doing? That is the core question, core concept that at the end of the day only matters, is who cares what people are saying? We got to see what the price is doing. So now the next question, well, when should I hold? That's a valid question. Well, you say all this, so how do I know when I should hold or when I should cut my losses or whatever? And the answer is, listen to the technical support levels. If you're asking yourself, what is a support level? Then again, going back to that warning slide, don't go and start throwing your hard-earned money at things. Got to learn what support levels are, got to learn how to apply them, got to learn how to spot them. So there is more that goes into this. And if you're kind of feel vaguely familiar with support levels, I think you're okay at it. Again, paper trade at most, but you got to learn and understand charting and support levels and so forth. So what we're going to do now is just go over some actual charts and go over some instances of when you should have justified patience, meaning you should be holding and you should be patient, and other times where there is no justified patience, there is no justified reason to hold and to have patience within a situation. So let's get started and take a look at some of these charts. So here we are looking at our first chart. Ticker symbols are irrelevant, doesn't matter. We're just looking at the patterns and what you should be doing. So you pull up your scanning radar and you see something that looks like this, and you say, hey, that looks good, and let's say you hop in during the day somewhere. It doesn't really matter, but you hop in. Now the question becomes, where's the key support level? And with that, you'll know whether or not your patience is justified or not. So here we have our support level right here. I'm not going to explain where these come from. Like I said, this is going to be assuming that you have an understanding of charts. It's more of the concept that applies. So let's just see what happens. 0006 is our support level, or as we can call it, our justified patience level. The price needs to remain above here, and as long as it does, then we're justified to hang on, we're justified to hold in hopes of a bigger move. So you can see this following day here, doesn't even get tested, comes down here, gets tested as you would expect since it is a support level. Again, gets tested. So sure, people might be starting to panic. Hey, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Your justified support level is holding, therefore you are justified to hold, and your patience is, is okay to have. It's logical patience to have. Again, bumped right off of your level down here, holding. I'm sure some people are still getting a little antsy. Again, people getting antsy, but you're still justified to hold. It hasn't, gone against you or anything like that. And finally, you can see here, your patience has held up, or your patience has paid off and was justified this whole time. That support level held. So that's just a good example of why you should hold, because I guarantee you during this time people were bailing because they were thinking, it's not going to go up and blah, blah, blah. But those that held and those that understood charting understood that they were justified to show some patience and hold on to their shares before finally, this big move. Because remember, that's why people are holding. They think a bigger move's happening. And they were justified to think that as long as this support level held, which it did. So here's our next chart. Let's say for this one that you were sitting in the doctor's office waiting for your appointment and somebody says, hey, check out this stock. And you pull up the chart and say, hey, that doesn't look too bad. I think I'm going to pick up some shares. What the guy's saying sounds pretty good. And let's just see what happens. So you do that, and there's nothing wrong. You can do that, but again, the point of this concept and lesson is to make sure that you're still justified to have that mindset. So right now, you're looking at the chart, and you're like, all right, yeah, I'll give it a try. So you come down here, and you got to figure out that key level of support, which happens to be right here. We'll make that green to represent support. And again, this is just your justified patience level. Look at that 3-cent level. As long as this holds, then you know what? My time is, not being wasted by sitting around here, and there's always that potential that the price can move. So you see it just kind of hovering around sideways right there. It tests it, so that's a good sign. It continues to hold. There, tested it again, again. You can see again. So a bunch of times this level is holding, but you're justified to hold. That's fine. Again, you're getting the point. We have this other support level sloping upwards. A couple times broke below it, but it did close above it, so that's the key since we're looking at the daily chart. And right there, something's not right anymore. And if you continue to hold, it doesn't make any sense. This key level that should have held, if it was justified, has now broken. And because it closed above here, it would have been, if you had held too long, a nice little chance here to at least break even. And then all of a sudden, another low gets put in, another low, another low, another. You get the point here. And then as we go through the history, you can see it gets caught way down here. So you're still holding, but there's no justification for it. Your key level up here has been broken. You're wasting your time if you continue to hold. And you can see just what keeps on happening, lower low, and does make a move there. But the point being, this is a lot of time to be waiting, and most stocks are dead and don't ever do that again. But imagine how much money you could have made during this whole period if you just would have cut your losses and went on to other plays. So that's one where you were not justified. It did make a good fight here, but then it failed, and sure, it did make that bounce, but I can show you 10 more charts which just keep drifting down lower and lower. So hoping is not a strategy, and hoping that a move like this happens is not a viable long-term strategy to keep your portfolio intact. All right, now that we got the first two charts out of the way, I'm going to be going through these a little bit more quicker, since you now know kind of what you look for. So again, you pull up this chart. Hey, that looks pretty good. Call the investor relations person, sounded pretty good. I'm going to pick up some shares. So let's find our justification level. And you have a few options on this one. I would personally just make it right there, and we'll change this to green because it is a support level. So that'll help us remind us of that. And let's just go through. So you picked up some shares. Let's see what happens here. So pulled back some, pulled back a little bit more, hasn't even quite tested that level. Holding up nicely, got some sideways action, that's good. Sideways, still hasn't even tested it. Here comes this other support level, and right here you start to see some action. And then boom, there you go, got a nice move, and then an even nicer move up. So again, patience was required, but it was justified the whole time. Patience in a downtrending stock like you just saw in the previous chart, I don't know how you can justify that besides saying, well, the CEO told me this. Well, remember, price action is king, and it's doing the exact opposite of what you want to see. Here, sure, it was boring. Sure, I'm sure there are some negative Nellies out talking about how this is worthless, blah, blah, blah. But you got to remember, charts don't lie. Charts and price action is king. And although it was going sideways and had red days, it held, and then you finally got the payoff. So the people that were holding were justified, and it did pay off for them. Here we're looking at an IPO stock. It IPO'd here, and again, let's go back. You're talking with your neighbor. Hey, such and such company, did you see that IPO? Oh, no, I missed it. Well, hey, it's a great opportunity right now. All right, call maybe the investor relations, learn a little bit more, dig through some filings. Okay, that makes sense, and that's fine. That's a okay reason if you want to pick up some shares. But again, is it justified? So what I would do is figure out our justification level right around this area here. We'll change that to green. And just to make note, you'll see that our other charts that we've gone over were more of stocks that were penny stocks, if you will. Here's a big board stock, so this applies across the board, whether you're trading penny stocks or big boards, forex options. A chart can be used. So, anyways, here we are looking at our justification level. You pick some shares right around here. You're thinking, hey, maybe it'll head back up here and then higher. So you're watching, pulls back some, but all right, it's fine. You're still justified. All right, getting right down to this area right here. Now it's really hovering around it. Because this is a big board, you can be a little bit more lenient on the exact levels of support, especially when it's up here over $10. So a few pennies here and there. Still hovering right around there. It's not like it's pulled away and separated. Continues to hover around, and then you get this nasty day here. Volume's coming up a little bit, and then from there, another day. So if you're still not quite sure, well, maybe I'm still justified, this was pretty much the nail in the coffin that tells you, no, you're not justified anymore. You're basically going to be not only losing money, but probably wasting your time, because you're going to sit here and still be waiting, and then you can see the results, low after low, and then low, and it's just, so if you're holding this time, what is justifying this right now? There's nothing. I don't care how good the CEO's talking or what have you. Price action is king, and price action, there you got that nasty gap down, is just not worth it. So there is no justified patience after it falls below this. Here we go. We're looking at our final chart here, and before this one, let's say you go on saying, what, this is going to be a long-term swing trade. I'm holding for the long term, not a day trade, not a scalp, but just a genuine long-term swing trade. So you get in and you think, all right, because I understand charting and because I understand how to read things, and because I know what my strategy is, long-term swing trade, I'm going to watch this purple line here as my justified patience level. As long as the price remains above this, then I'm justified to keep on holding. So you pick up shares here and you're thinking, oh man, I should have waited a little bit before this pullback, but hey, look, price came right down here to my justification level and bounced like I would want to see it hold. So I'm still justified. As much pain as I'm in, I should have waited a little bit, but hey, I'm following my rules, and my rules was I would be justified as long as this level holds, since I have a longer term strategy to begin with. So you watch that, and now you're feeling better, and then you get this nice day. Oh, all right, that's great, but long-term swing, so I just want to keep on following that moving average up, and then you get this move. Oh, that's even better. Maybe you locked in some profits there. Let's just say you didn't. Now we're getting through sideways action here. I'm sure people are losing patience. You see the negative Nellies come out. Right here it comes down. Did not close below it. Maybe you could have gotten stopped out there, but because you care about the daily chart, because we're looking at because your strategy is longer term, it didn't close below it. Had a nice bounce, and you can see again right off that area. Again, patience, getting awfully close right there, and then boom, again, another massive move. So, whether or not you locked on, I would hope that there would be some profits locked in by this point in time. But point being, by following this justification level, a dynamic one, meaning it changes over time, you can see that the strategy does hold true, and there was justification to hold this entire time. Now, if it came down here and crashed through, then justification is gone, and who knows what have happened. You've already seen a couple of charts where you can see charts get into these downwards drift, and they can just break your heart over and over again. But if you go on this like a robot, no emotions, and just find that justification level, things will work out for you. So hopefully you learned some things. Again, if you have no idea where these support levels and lines are coming from, that's just a sign that you should brush up on your charting, study some charting. But hopefully you can see, if you haven't been a believer in charting or just were unfamiliar with it, that you actually can apply these concepts and make sure that you're not wasting your time and that you're keeping your portfolio intact. Thanks for watching the video. Hopefully you found it helpful and pulled out some things that you can use in your trading strategy, whatever that may be. If you did find it helpful and informative, then I'd encourage you to check out a couple of these resources here. The first being our robotic trading course. As you can see, it's over 8.5 hours of teaching, so there's plenty of information. There's all sorts of stuff, and with it you'll be able to build your own strategies, learn about charting in general, and just really be able to, like it says, profit in any market environment. Because remember, just because the market may be bad, you can always short and things of that nature. So with the course, it goes over how to use charts, and when you learn the foundational things like that, then you can begin to build your own strategies that benefit you and fit into your personality and so forth. So I'd encourage you to check that out. And also on that note, I'll be the first to admit I'm pretty biased when it comes to it. So I'd encourage you to check out the third-party reviews and testimonials. Those were all unsolicited, all uncompensated. So these were just people that were reaching out to us saying, hey, I bought the course and these are my thoughts. So I'd encourage you to go to that link and just check out third-party reviews, because like I said, uncompensated. They reached out to us and wanted to offer feedback because they were happy with the course. Also, we have a Bull Warrior Stocks newsletter that is located at bullwarriorstocks.com. If you sign up for the free newsletter, you'll receive a free ebook with some charting strategies and so forth, a part of it. And like I said, that chart or the site is completely free, no obligations, no hidden cost, no strings attached, anything like that. You can subscribe, unsubscribe whenever you want to, and you're not going to have any sort of cost or anything pop up. So I'd encourage you to check out that. But as a warning, I'd say that it's better to learn charting and so forth, because the Bull Warrior Stock site is revolving around charts. So you got to know what you're doing when you're looking at charts. So place one would to start would be up with the course, and then that way you can gain an understanding and add another tool to your tool belt. So again, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or anything on either of these things, please get a hold of me. Thank you and have a good one.